Good morning, and welcome to the Annual Meeting of Shareholders of Unity Bancorp, Inc. Please note that today's meeting is being recorded. During the meeting, we will have a question and answer session. You can submit your questions or comments at any time by clicking on the Q&A tab. It is now my pleasure to turn today's meeting over to Mr. George Boyan, President of Unity Bancorp. Mr. Boyan, the floor is yours.
Thank you and good morning. Before we formally begin, Unity would like to encourage all participants to refer to our SEC filings, including those found on our Forms 10-K, 8-K, 10-Q, for a complete discussion of forward-looking statements and factors that could cause actual results to differ from those statements. With that, I'd like to turn the call over to our Chairman of the Board of Directors, Mr. Dallas. Mr. Dallas, the floor is yours.
Good morning, all, and welcome to the annual meeting of the shareholders of Unity Bancorp. On behalf of the Board of Directors, management, and Unity's talented staff, I welcome you to the 2026 annual meeting of our shareholders. Unity remains deeply committed to the customers, business, and communities we serve across our markets in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and we are proud of the trust our shareholders place in us year after year. My name is David Dallas, and I'm honored to be the Chairman of the Board of Directors of Unity Bancorp. I'm joined today by our CEO, James Hughes, and our President, George Boyan. As for our recent financial performance, I am thrilled to report that 2025 was yet another record-breaking year. Unity Bancorp achieved an impressive $58 million in net income, with a full year's return on average assets of 2.17% and a full year's return on average equity of 18.07%. Speaking on behalf of the Board of Directors and management, we continue to remain very optimistic regarding the company's outlook heading into 2026, supported by our capital strength, liquidity position, and continued commitment to serve our communities and shareholders over the long term. Mr. Hughes and Mr. Boyan will further elaborate on Unity's accomplishments and year's highlights, our strategic goals, and future growth of the organization in this morning's meeting. I would now like to proceed according to today's agenda. Today's Inspector of Election is Ms. Marlene Granson Mills, a representative of the company's stock transfer agent, Computershare. Ms. Mills, may I please have the current tally of the total votes received and a percentage of the total outstanding shares that the tally represents?
Good morning. Based on the total votes received at 7,969,020, or 79.56% of the total outstanding shares, a quorum is determined to exist for the continuation of today's meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. I would now like to encourage any shareholders present to submit questions online by clicking on the Q&A tab. We encourage shareholders to ask questions and will address as many as possible towards the end of the meeting. If your question is not answered, please feel free to reach out through our Investors Relations link on the Unity Bank website. Within the virtual meeting portal, you will see a link to view our 2025 annual report and our 2026 proxy report. Within our proxy report, you will find a full listing of our directors and executive management team. First on the agenda is a recap of the proposals voted for. This year, our shareholders of record have been asked to cast their votes on the following proposals. 1, the election of Unity's 5 nominees for director. And 2, the ratification of Wolf & Company, P.C. as the company's independent external auditors for the year ending December 31, 2026. If you have not yet voted or wish to change your vote, you may do so now by clicking on the Vote tab. Any shareholder who has already voted and does not wish to change their vote need not take any further action. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of judges and the Inspector of Election and the announcement of a quorum present. Today's judges of election are Ms. Amanda Roche, Unity Bank's Controller, and Mr. James Davies, Unity Bank's Chief Financial Officer. Amanda and James, please state your names.
Amanda Roche.
James Davies.
The next item on the agenda is the company's report to our shareholders. I'd like to now turn the meeting over to our Chief Executive Officer, James Hughes. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, James. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is James Hughes. I'm here pleased to report the operating results for 2025. As Mr. Dallas said, we had a banner year, net income of $58 million, 40% increase from the prior year's income of $41 million. Albeit this year's earnings were somewhat benefited by the gains realized on the Patriot stock of approximately $5 million, but nonetheless, return on assets of 217, return on average equity of 18, and a stellar net interest margin of 452. We're trying to keep our expense ratio under 2%. It's 196 for the year, and a low efficiency ratio of 41%. We recently released our first quarter results. We're on target, I'm pleased to say. We released earnings a couple weeks ago, $14.3 million for the first quarter, up from $11.6 million a year ago. It's a 23% increase. Earnings of $1.40 a share, down slightly from the prior quarter of $15.5 million. Fewer days in the first quarter, increased salaries expense in the first quarter with annual merit increases, and there were some unusual items in the fourth quarter of 25. So still a great quarter, 2.04% ROA, 16% ROE, and our margin is holding strong at 453. Expense ratio is slightly over the 2% target, so we'll work on that. But our efficiency ratio is still very strong at 41.77. Our branch footprint, 22 branches now, 20 in New Jersey, 2 in the Lehigh Valley area. We opened up one in 25 in Madison in Morris County, doing very, very well. We are looking to continue our expansion of retail branches, smaller branches, more efficient branches. Looking more in the New Jersey market, not in the PA market. Nothing on the footprint right now, but we have branch growth in our strategic plan. Next slide. Loan and deposit growth was very, very strong in 25. Looking at our loan growth, 12.6%. We were under budget in SBA. We've just hired a new SBA manager. We're looking to see vast improvements in our SBA volume in 26. Commercial and commercial construction lending was very strong at 18% and 13% growth respectively. Probably won't be as robust in 25, but we're off to a strong start in the first quarter. Residential mortgages, this is really more about loan volume. We're doing about $25 million a month of residential mortgages. The saleable product we obviously sell, whatever goes into portfolio. When you're in a high rate environment as we are now and rates are declining downward, loan prepayment speeds are already accelerating, so it's hard to predict the growth in that portfolio other than I do anticipate continued volume increases. Consumer, strong growth, 11%, more values in people's home, more availability. Residential construction down 19%, and that is planned, I guess. 24, we still had a lot of older projects that were laid over from COVID delays. And so the $73 million that we have in portfolio in 25 is roughly about 110 projects, all current production. We're hopeful to see growth in this portfolio in 26. Deposits is the name of the game, as we always say at Unity Bank. Total deposit growth, 10.7% for the year was pretty strong. We're up about 3% for the first quarter. Loan to deposit ratio around 109, and so that's one of the governors in our policy to try to keep our loan to deposit ratio under 110. Working hard at growing loans and deposits in tandem for 26. So asset quality still very strong. You can see the chart shows net charge-offs for the last 5 years. relatively immaterial losses, ranging from 5 basis points to the high of 9 basis points. 25 was 5 basis points of charge-offs. Non-accrual loans relative to total assets, still very acceptable. It was ranging around a half a basis point, but we're now up to 1.06% of total assets. We had one large non-performing loan go into the fourth quarter, about $15.5 million, to a well-secured catering facility. We're hopeful to work out of that with no loss or a minor loss. More to come on that story. The next slide is the summary of the income statement. Again, showing the $58 million in net income, and you can see on the top line, most of the growth is coming from net interest income, 18% growth. That's a combination of growth in our margin and growth in our volume. And there's more slides to talk individually on each of these categories. So let's turn to the next slide, which talks about how we achieved a 4.5% margin. So one of the things we have on our balance sheet is it's a well-positioned balance sheet. Whether rates go up or rates go down, we're able to reprice our portfolio faster than most banks. And you can see that we're able to reprice our loan portfolio from 458 to 671 over the last 5 years. And our deposits, which is a much shorter duration, savings deposits, 6-month CDs, 1-year CDs, is down to around 244. We are trying not to pay for deposits. We're trying to keep our margin strong. Despite where rates go up, rates go down, we're able to keep our margin with a 4 handle. We're very optimistic that our margin will remain stable, regardless of where rates go. I think the money is betting on rates are probably going to be going down, but time will tell with that one. Non-interest income. This is an area that we've been spending a lot of energy on and improving. And you can see we've had some success in branch fee income, up 32%. And so we've been putting more accounts to account analysis, increasing our fees where appropriate. So we're pleased with that. Service and loan fee income, up 25%. And that's predominantly due to prepayment penalties. And as rates are high and people are finding opportunities elsewhere, we're able to monetize with our prepayment structure. Gains on sale of SBA loans, kind of flat, 6% growth. I'm hoping to see a much larger number in 26. Gain on sale of mortgage loans, 1.5. Again, that's probably a stable number, up slightly, I would predict for 26, but up 2.6%. Again, our volume is up. Some months it's more saleable, some months it's less saleable production. That security gains, there's that Patriot gain that I was talking about, the $5 million number in there. So that's behind us in the rearview mirror. Let's turn to the next slide of expenses. And this is where we have some more work to do on keeping our expense ratio, get it down under that 2% number. Comp and benefits, comp is up 11%. That's a combination of the new branch, salary increases, merit increases. And so it's an inflationary cost that's been a challenge to, I think, all businesses in New Jersey. Benefits are down, surprisingly, and several years ago we went to self-insurance, which has been paying dividends for us, certainly in 25 when claims are down from the prior period. So we actually had a reduction in benefit expense. Processing and communication looks like it's up 20%, but in reality 24 is understated because we had about $400,000 of credits from our service provider. And so really 24 is really understated by the 400,000. You get into other categories. Part of compensation benefit increases and director fees increases is the appreciation in the stock. As we give restricted stock out to directors and to employees, and that stock vests at a higher market price, it creates a higher expense to the bank. But I guess to some degree those are positive things, having a higher appreciation in the stock. So to the next slide, really, this is really where the rubber meets the road. You can see the bottom line here. We have a very low dividend payout ratio, and that's really by design. We like to keep our dividend payout ratio. I don't want to say specifically under 15%. There is no specific number, but right now it's under 15% of our earnings. 16 cents a quarter, 64 cents annually. So if we make $5.64, $5 will go to book value. And if you put it in a book value, maybe you'll get a little bit more than $5 return on appreciation. And you could see that we were trailing around 120 to price the book, for a long, long time. And I think really what caused this significant increase is when we pulled away from the peer group during this high rate environment where everybody else's margins were collapsing and our margin had expanded. I think it raised more attention to our brand and brought more institutional investors in, and we are now enjoying price to book ratio of around 150. So, and hopefully that will continue to go. So, I just want to say, thank you to the shareholders for attending today. Unity Bank, we have a nice diversified business model. We're strong with residential lending, strong with construction. We have SBA, commercial lending, focusing on lending to small businesses in our footprint. We have a very experienced management team. Board and management controls a high percentage of the stock, so we're certainly invested in the future. And we have the best-in-class financial performance, certainly in the top 5%, maybe in the top 2% of all banks nationwide. So, and strong capital management practices. So, thank you for your attendance today, and I will turn it to Mr. Dallas.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hughes. Next item on the agenda is to provide answers to any questions that have been submitted during today's meeting.
There are no questions posed at this time.
Okay, thank you. I would now like to proceed with the remainder of today's meeting by closing the polls and requesting the report of the Inspector of Election. Ms. Mills, may I please have the final tally on the voting for the two proposals presented at this meeting?
The final tally are as follows. Proposal number 1, election of directors. George Boyan, 6,842,535 voted for, 90,042 withheld, 1,036,443 non-votes. Wayne Courtright, 6,856,694 voted for, 75,883 withheld, 1,036,443 non-votes. David D. Dallas, 6,788,575 voted for, 144,002 withheld, 1,036,443 non-votes. Robert H. Dallas, 6,534,274 voted for, 398,303 withheld, 1,036,443 non-votes. Peter E. Mariconda, 6,698,033 voted for, 234,543 withheld, 1,036,443 non-votes. Regarding proposal number 2, auditors, the ratification of Wolf & Company P.C. as the company's independent external auditors for the year ending December 31st, 2026. Votes for, 7,964,492. Votes against, 2,787. Abstain, 1,741. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. In closing, I'd like to thank everyone in attendance for participating in today's meeting and for the continued support of Unity. We look forward to all of you joining us again next year. Thank you all and have a good day.
This concludes the meeting. You may now disconnect.